Welcome to the Bag Maker's Workroom. I am Chris with Simply Classic, and today is Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are going to talk about bag and wallet linings tonight. It's been an interesting week here in Georgia, I have to tell you. It seems like it's always something. And earlier this week, we had snow. And let me tell you, that is very unusual for Georgia. And so we had about, I don't know, maybe about a ½ inch, not that much, but enough for it to kind of put everything to a screeching halt. So we see that, oh, how about that, Nancy? I didn't realize you were from New Hampshire. You know, that's originally where I'm from. So nice to know that I have a homie here. But I have my peanut gallery laughing behind the scenes. We're super excited that you're here, and we appreciate you joining us live. I know you have a lot of things going on in your life, and for you to take a few minutes out to join us, we really, really appreciate it. If you're unable to join us live, that's no problem. You can rewatch the replay anytime on our YouTube channel. And of course, that's Simply Classic on YouTube. And we really appreciate y'all. And my most favorite part of all of this is interacting with all of you. So if you do have any questions throughout the live stream, go ahead and put them in the chat. And then time permitting at the end, we will go ahead and answer questions. So we're going to start out with the Simply Classic scoop tonight, like we always do, and just kind of let you know what's going on behind the scenes, besides snow, right? I mean, that's exciting to us, but I know a lot of you are probably already sick of the snow. But we are going to be, just a reminder, in Chattanooga. We're going to be there February 28th, March 1st. We checked, and there's still a few seats available. So if you're interested in joining us, we would love to have you. We do have a link below that you can go ahead and click and sign up for those classes. We are also going to be in Sacramento, September, 12th through 14th, and that is for the Sacramento Bag and Sew Expo. This is their inaugural year, and they have a great lineup of teachers, and we are super excited about being there. I will be teaching 3 classes there. We're going to do the Julie, the Simply Classic Clutch, and the Sorella. So it's going to be a wide variety of bags, all totally different, and it's going to be great to just learn a whole bunch of different things. So the VIP tickets went on sale yesterday for that, and I know there's a limited number. I think there's 150, and basically the VIP tickets get you early access to the classes, among a lot of other things. So hop on over to their site, check it out, see what the VIP tickets get you. Go ahead and grab some VIP tickets before they sell out. And we would love to see you in Sacramento later this year. By popular demand, we have been asked to please have another banded bag class in February. So we are going to do that. It is the Leather Bag Making by Machine, a virtual class. It's going to be from February 7th to 17th. And we will be making the band bag, which is this bag that you see up here at the top. It is a beginner class. If you have never worked with leather before, this is the class for you. We're going to go over how to cut leather, how to glue the stiffeners on. I mean, it's just going to be all-inclusive. It is, again, a fairly simple bag, but it's just to introduce you to all the things that you want to learn when it comes to leather. So we do obviously still have some seats available. Our January class starts Friday already. We are super excited. That class sold out. So we're really happy to get started with that. And of course, it includes 6 pre-recorded videos that walk you through the process. And then we also have 3 live Zoom sessions that you're able to talk with me. We get on, we all talk together about, questions you may have or things you're running into, and help each other out. We have a great time. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check the link out and sign up for that class. The other thing we want to remind you about is that we now have the Tech 70 threads in stock. So you said you want a Tech 70. We said, hey, we got you covered. So we have both the Tech 45 and the Tech 70 thread. There are 12 colors of Tech 70 available, and there's 25 colors of the Tech 45. They are both 4-ounce spools. And the difference is the Tex 45 has this gray spool color and the Tex 70 has the red. Okay, so when you have them in your shop or in your workroom and you're kind of, want to make sure you know what's what, that's how you can tell the difference. Okay, both 4-ounce spools, great price, and we have some great colors. The Tex 70 they're very neutral colors, but they're going to match with a lot of different things you have. And then the Tex 45, there's of course the neutral, but there's a lot of fun colors too. Okay. Again, those are by Tech. They're amazing threads. We are super excited to be carrying them. And you guys are buying them. I mean, I think I've had to reorder 4 times already. So yay, that's great. Okay, we're going to switch to the overhead camera real quick because I do want to show you that we have the Saya Swag calendars in. So they were so kind to send us 2 of these. So we're going to give away 2 of these calendars at the end of the live stream. So make sure you stay for that. There's all these vendors. Okay. I think there's over, I can't even remember how many. There's so many vendors here, over 50 vendors, all included in this calendar. And what happens is each month, there are different vendors featured. We're in October, and for 1 week in October, you're going to receive a certain percentage off of our store. Same thing with all these other people. And these are people you know. We've got Weft and Work Company, O Creations. We have, Cotton and Twirls, Your Vinyl Source, Swoon, George Girl Stitches, Fierce Kitten Studio, Sonar, et cetera, right? These are all the people you buy from all the time. So this calendar is worth a lot. And if you don't win tonight, no worries. You can hop over to Saya Swag's website and go ahead and purchase one. And it's pretty much going to pay for itself. You're going to 1 or 2 orders with some of these folks and you're going to make out. Okay, the last thing I want to tell you about the Simply Classic Scoop, we're going to spend more time on this next week, but I just want to mention that we have started carrying webbings in the shop. So I'm going to show you what we have. We have 6 different colors, and they are, we were a little choosy with what we got. So we have these 2 zigzag colors, okay? This is what we're calling earth green. And then we also have a gray, and it's kind of a multicolor. It's pink, but it's got also some purple and orange, and it's really pretty. It's going to go really good with the dark gray that we have. And then we also have 4 different colors of what we're calling peacock feathers. And these are really gorgeous. What I like about them is that they are, of course, they're double-sided like all webbing, but the other side is different. So, for instance, this is the brown and beige. And then we have, this is a silver gray, I believe. That we hadn't even, I don't open that yet. Let me open this and show you the other side real quick. It's got like a light blue on it. It's really pretty. We also have the blue and red, which is a really pretty color on one side. And look at this other side. It's so cool. And then the last one we have is blue and yellow. Let me open that up and look at the other side of that. Very, very cool. So they are sold in pre-cut 60-inch widths. And the reason why we chose 60-inch is because 60-inch is perfect for a crossbody strap, or you can cut it in half and get 2 30-inch handles. Okay. So check out the website. We have a link below for that. They are 1.5 inches wide. And so we have 1.5 inch wide tool clasp and slide adjusters and D-rings and all that you can use with them. Okay. So we are going to move on to Sharpen Your Skills. And since today is all about bag and wallet linings, we're going to really focus on our adhesive lining and how to use it. So we have had a lot of people ask us about this. I get emails about this a lot, just saying, how do I use it? What do I use to cut it? Why would I use it instead of something else, etc. So we are going to go to the overhead, and I'm going to show you a little bit about the adhesive lining and how to use it. So it is a nylon lining, okay? So it's you can feel it. You can't feel, but I can feel it. It's very almost slippery because it is nylon. Very, very, very thin. Okay, very thin. And what it has is a adhesive back on it. So if I take and just peel this off, you can see it's got a little bit of stickiness to it. It is perfect to use with leather and faux leather in specific patterns as well as on credit card slots. So we have two patterns that feature this lining. I'm going to show those to you first. One is the Gemella wallet. And in the Gemella wallet, we use it for the credit card slots. We also used it for the interior here. Okay, so, and I know this is dark, it's probably hard to see, but this is actually black adhesive lining. The other pattern that we have that features it is the Sorella. Now we have two different instructions in the Sorella. One is using cotton and one is using the adhesive lining. And the adhesive lining is used in the credit card slot. Sorry, I'm trying to hold my little thing. It's used in the back of the credit card slots. It's used on the back of this front section. And then it's also used on the interior here. Okay, and this is just adhesive lining, super thin, takes up absolutely no bulk, so it's really easy to work with. Okay, so the way that I would suggest you use this is to, let's talk about credit card slots specifically. There's a couple different ways to adhere the lining to the faux, and this is just a piece of our faux cream texture. You can use it again, leather, faux leather, doesn't matter, cork, you can even use it on cork. And you could either peel the backing off and place this, let's pretend this is a credit card slot, you'd place this on, and then you would just take the top of your fabric, fold it over, and top stitch, and then that would be your credit card slot. So for instance, here is an example of that using that method. And I used some gray, and I didn't cut this very straight, but you'll kind of get the idea. I used some gray thread there. And what that does is it gives you a very thin credit card slot, and your credit cards slide in and out a little easier because it is a little slippery. It's nylon. Okay. Another way to use it in a credit card slot would be, instead of sewing it this way, you would sew it this way. So you'd sew the right side of the lining to the wrong side of the credit card slot. You would go ahead and stitch, remove the backing, and then just flip this down. You'd have a raw edge on your leather or faux leather, and you would have a nice folded edge on your credit card slot. So here's an example of that. What I did was I just went ahead and stitched, did a quick stitch down. And then from here, I would just peel the backing off. And a lot of times I don't worry if it doesn't come off this little top section. You could certainly fight with it, but you get the idea. I usually don't worry too much about it. And then when you actually fold this over, you can smooth it down really well and make sure there's no wrinkles in it. So sometimes when it's on the roll, you can see some wrinkles in it, but don't worry, those aren't going to stay. As soon as you peel that backing off and you fold it over, you get a nice smooth surface. So as far as when to use it, I would say use it in a pattern that calls for it, but also use it in the back of your credit card slots. You would, if you were going to do credit card slots like in the Gemella, where you actually fold your fabric back and forth like an accordion, you can still use this. And I have a great video that shows you exactly how to do that for the Gemella. And it kind of is nice because as you fold it back down, it sticks to itself, so you don't have the credit card slots flopping everywhere. It really makes it nice and easy. You can cut it with either a rotary cutter or scissors, either one. And it is just really an overall great product because it really reduces bulk. You don't need any kind of special cutting tools. You don't need any kind of special needles or anything like that to use with it. It's just regular old stuff. I have actually had a couple of leather workers get it, and they burn it. So because it's nylon, it burns, and they're able to use like their edge tool or edge cutter, and they can actually burn the edge of it. Like they cut it with the burner, and they actually cut, and it seals it and cuts it at the same time. So that's another use for it. I don't have one of those. I don't use the burner, but from what I understand, I think it works really well. So you can certainly use cotton, linen for any of these applications, but especially for the patterns in the credit card slots where you want little to no bulk, this is an excellent product. Okay. We have it in 6 different colors, and slide these over. We have a little bit of a glare there. Sorry about that. But basically we have black and gray. We have a cream. We have olive, red, and navy. So it really should work with pretty much everything you have. They're very neutral colors, and just go with a lot. Okay. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about is perfect pairings. And we're going to actually touch on another kind of lining in perfect pairings. We know that we can use cotton, right? A lot of us do. And we have a full line of Tilda fabric that we sell for cotton lining. You also can use, of course, the adhesive lining. And then lastly, you can use satin. And satin is really a beautiful lining to use for a couple of reasons. One is that it really doesn't wrinkle. I mean, you think about a satin, and I say satin, it's usually a satin blend. You can take it and you can squish it up and let it go, and it does not hold wrinkles. It actually, you can put some woven interfacing on it, and it adheres beautifully, and it changes the hand of it so it's not so slippery and hard to work with. It actually makes it a little bit nicer to work with. So we have one kind of, and we're going to go back to the overhead, one kind of satin lining, and it is called cheetah. And it is, of course, a very, thin, almost slippery kind of fabric. But you can literally, you can like scrunch this up and let it out, and you can see it holds no wrinkles. Even with woven interfacing, it will not hold any wrinkles. It is amazing to work with. The perfect pairing that I want to show you with this cheetah is our solid rust. And I know that this is probably not your traditional thing you put together. A lot of people would probably put black with this cheetah, which would go well. But I really like this rust with it. It brings out the rust color in these cheetah prints. What I would use for the thread in this case would either be the Tex 45 or the Tex 70 in the sand color. Okay, so that's perfect pairing number 1 for this week. We have one other one for you using some of the adhesive lining. And what I want to show you there is our geometric triangles in the olive and black. Of course, what I would pair with that is a solid black as an accent. And then I would use the olive adhesive lining. And this would be a beautiful Sorella or a Gemella, either one. I mean, it would really be nice. But I really think that this olive goes well with the olive faux, and it would just be a perfect complement. For thread, I would just go ahead and use black. Use that either in the Tex 70 or the Tex 45. And then right there, you have a perfect pairing for a bag. Okay. So we are going to move on, and we are going to talk about, we're going to move on to the Thursday thread. And in the past Thursday thread is going to be either a story about me, a sewing story about me, or maybe not a sewing story about me. Or from one of you. We encourage you to share your stories, send them to share@simplyclassic.net. And, we may feature your story. We have done that in the past, and we love doing that. We think that you have fun and exciting things to share. But the past few weeks, we've been talking about the history of handbags, so we're going to continue with that. And today, we are specifically going to talk about Christian Dior. So Dior is a French fashion house, and it's known for its intricate embroidery and luxurious fabrics, and it's just a really high-end bag, very sculptural. They are very famous for making some of the best-selling bags in the world, and I'm sure you're going to recognize some of these as we go through them. But the history of Dior really is interesting because they didn't make bags. And so we're going to kind of run through that, but because it is interesting, but also let you know when the bags started. Okay. So here is Christian Dior. And he was born into a wealthy French family in 1905. He loved art and fashion and architecture from a really early age. And when he was in his early 20s, he opened a small art gallery in Paris. Paris seemed to be the place to be back then. And he became friends with contemporary artists like Pablo Picasso and Salvador Dali. However, after a few years, there were some deaths in the family, and he had some financial difficulties, and it caused the gallery to shut down. So for the first time in his life, Christian Dior had to fully support himself. So he began selling his fashion sketches. And at first, he mostly designed hats. And let me just say that as we continue on with these history lessons, you're going to find that another huge designer in history started out with hats. So hats was a thing. And he got a job with a designer named Robert Piguet, who mentored Christian Dior for several years until Dior was called to serve in the French army. So he went on to the army and he completed his service in 1941, and then he moved back to Paris. And he found a new job with the fashion house Lucien Lyon. And it was the middle of World War II, so it wasn't a great time for fashion. Resources were scarce, as we learned in other history lessons, and demand was down. So most of his work came from dressing the wives of Nazi officers. But understand, he was not a Nazi sympathizer by any means. His sister Catherine was actually a member of the French Resistance, and Christian let her use his apartment to host meetings, even though it was extremely risky. She was unfortunately captured. She was in prison and in a concentration camp. She survived, and Christian Dior later named his first perfume in her honor, and he named it Miss Dior. So it's a fun little fact there. Not really fun, but I mean, it's fantastic that she made it through that. And I don't know, it's just, I think it's really amazing that he honored her that way, because I'm sure she went through some pretty horrific stuff. So after the war, Christian Dior found a wealthy investor, and he was able to open his own fashion house. So he released his first clothing collection in 1947, and it completely revolutionized women's fashion. Harper's Bazaar magazine called it the new look because it was so different from the simpler styles that were worn throughout the war. It was bold, it was extravagant, with rounded shoulders and cinched waists and full skirts. And a lot of you probably recognize this particular look as a Christian Dior look. But notably, it included hats, but no bags. So Christian Dior did make some bags in the 50s, and we can see that here, but they weren't what he was known for. He continued to release new clothing collections for the next 10 years until he died of a heart attack at just 52 years old. So when he died, Yves Saint Laurent took over for a couple of years. And after that, Marc Bowen took over in the 60s. Marc Bowen introduced ready-to-wear fashion that people could buy off the rack instead of having everything custom made. So this was the age of women embracing trousers as a symbol of freedom. He later learned, he leaned into that while still managing the brand's classic aesthetic. In the late 1960s, he designed the famous Dior oblique monogram that's shown here in this pattern. And I'm sure a lot of you recognize that. They still use that today. So in 1989, Jean-Franco Ferré became the creative director of Dior. And he is arguably the person who brought Dior handbags to the mainstream. In 1995, he was asked to make a custom bag for Princess Diana, and a lot of you probably recognize this and know all about this. He created the Chouchou, a black quilted leather bag with arched handles and yellow gold hardware. He made it rectangular and very structured because he said Princesses don't slouch, and neither should their handbags. The quilted pattern is called Kanya, and it was inspired by a set of woven chairs that Christian used for fashion shows. This pattern has been used in other Dior designs in the past, but had never been used on a handbag before. And this is actually the pattern we use in the Simply Classic clutch as well. So Princess Diana carried this bag at royal events and all around the world. It became so iconic that it was renamed Lady Dior after Lady Di herself. And the company sold over 200,000 of them in the first 2 years of production. This bag is still being made, and it's one of the most collected designer bags of all times. And this is so interesting to me. The bag is made of 144 different pieces, and they are completely hand-stitched. To this day, they're completely hand-stitched. So John Galliano became the creative director of Dior in 1996. He was kind of controversial, and he ended up getting himself fired in 2011. But it is undeniable that his time at Dior made a big impact on the handbag design. John Galliano is probably best known for designing the Dior saddle bag, which you see here. It's a very unique kidney-shaped shoulder bag with a detachable strap. And it originally came in denim as part of a cowboy-inspired collection. It even features hardware that was inspired by a horse's bit. It's not a traditional saddle bag that you would actually put on a saddle or put on a horse. Instead, it mimics the shape of the saddle, which is where it gets its name. It was a departure from the classic silhouettes and materials that Dior was known for, but it was still very sleek, and it had a very feminine shape. And people, they expected that from the brand. Not everyone loved this bag. I'm not sure it's one of my favorites, but that's okay. But it was a huge hit among the younger crowd. And it was carried by a lot of celebrities. You can see here that Paris Hilton carried it. And it really became more of a trend, and it fell out of fashion in 2007. But then in 2014, Beyonce was spotted carrying one. So other celebrities followed suit, and it regained its popularity. So Dior's first female creative director, Maria Grazia Chiuri, relaunched it in 2018. It's been popular ever since, especially with the Y2K revival over the past couple of years. We'll see if it sticks around. Only time will tell. But interestingly, Dior tried to trademark this bag's signature shape in Europe, but they were denied because it was deemed not to be distinctive enough. And another interesting thing is when I was in Italy and we were going around to all the different shops all around, and whether it was the big cities or the smaller cities, there were so many of these bags, so many replicas of this bag. It was amazing. They were everywhere. So the Dior brand has evolved a lot over the past 75 years, but it's still known for impeccable designs and unique motifs. Christian Dior himself was known for being quite spiritual. He consulted astrologers and psychics before making big decisions, and he carried talismans and good luck charms that he also featured in his designs. One example is the Lily of the Valley, which is still used in Dior designs to this day, like on this Lady Dior bag. The DIOR letter charms on the Lady Dior bag were also inspired by the good luck charms that he carried. So he also, his lucky number, he loved the number 8. That was like his lucky number. So he incorporated his lucky number 8 in his designs. And of course, we know he wasn't necessarily the designer of handbags, but he still, in the clothing designs he had, he incorporated that. So that was carried forward. So when he opened his first fashion house in Paris, he opened it. He was in the 8th borough of Paris, in a building with 8 stories and 8 workshops. So this tradition is carried on with the Dior 8 bag collection for men. And if we look at the buckle on this bag, we can see that it kind of looks like the number 8. You have like a silver portion at the top and kind of a black portion at the bottom. But not only is it the number 8, it's also the initials for Christian Dior, the CD. So it's really fascinating to me that somebody's unique quirks can become such long-lasting symbols that influence what people wear, even decades later. So to wrap up the Thursday thread, let's take a look at a couple more Dior bags that have influenced handbag trends. And the first one we have here is the Diorama from 2012, and then the Dior Ever from 2016. And both of these bags have been discontinued, but they're still highly sought after by collectors. The Diorama is a great example of a bag that's known for its lining, and how appropriate that today's about linings. But most Dior bags have canvas linings, and the Diorama uses a leather lining that matches the leather on the exterior of the bag, and that just gives it an even more luxurious look and feel. So overall, we can see that Dior bags were really structured and sculptural. And that makes sense because architecture was such a big inspiration for Christian Dior. The brand prioritizes the quality of the materials and impeccable hand stitching even to this day. And they also incorporate symbolism and use hardware in interesting ways. So that can really be an inspiration for all of us to ask ourselves, what little details can I include in my bags that would give it a uniquely personal touch? And so if you have any ideas on what you might use for symbolisms or anything that you'd like to incorporate in your bags, stick them in the chat, because I think that would be really interesting. Maybe we can talk about that in a future Thursday thread. If you would like to write in even to share at simplyclassic.net, we'd love to hear how you use it. Okay, so we are going to move on to Artistry Avenue. And Artistry Avenue is a segment where we feature our artists. So all of the bags that we're going to see on Artistry Avenue are bags made by you. They are Simply Classic patterns that you have made into your own. They are amazing. You can either post them on the Facebook group, which is the Simply Classic Facebook community, or you can email them to share@simplyclassic.net. If your bag is featured in Artistry Avenue, you will receive a free PDF Simply Classic pattern of your choice. And you do have 30 days to email share@simplyclassic.net and let us know which pattern you would like to have. We'll get it right to you. So let's take a look at 3 bags that caught our attention this week. And since our topic is linings, we chose 3 bags with interesting linings. So the first one is a Bircham, and it is made by Nikki Lundeen. And she sent this in via email. The contrast floral lining in this is really pretty, and you can kind of see a glimpse of it there. She did a great job on this Bircham, and I love that she used a really unique, colorful lining. The second one we want to look at is one made by Becky Mace, and she made a Julie, and I love this lining she used. It complements that faux that she used so well. I really, really love it. That brown in there matches perfectly. And then the last one is made by Patricia Miller. And she actually posted this a few months ago, but we just had to feature it because the colors are so amazing. Look at that bold lining with all those little circles in it. And this is a bold bag, and it was appropriate to put a nice bold lining in there. I mean, that's just beautiful. And of course, this is a Roseanne. She did a fabulous job. So just remember that you have 30 days to email share@simplyclassic.net. Let us know which pattern you would like, which PDF pattern, and we will get it right to you. Okay, so before we move on to Q&A, we're going to give you our word to win a calendar, one of the Size Swag calendars. And that magic word tonight is month. So just type the word month, M-O-N-T-H. And we're going to pick the computer, not we, the computer is going to pick 2 different winners tonight. Okay. So we have one question that was asked on YouTube, and this is from Gigi, and she asked me, what cylinder arm machine do you use? And of course, I'm asked quite a bit on the machines I use. And the cylinder arm is a Texo 2750 Pro. And like you, I do a lot of research on my machines before I buy them because I really want to make sure I'm getting, something good that I'm going to use and love. And what I liked about it is it came with all those features. It came with a flatbed table. It came with a built-in guide adjuster or guide flip down guide thing. It came with a laser light. It came with a needle down position feature. I mean, it came with all the stuff. And so for the money, it was fabulous. When I ordered it, it came out of Canada and it was here like within 2 weeks. I mean, it was really great. The shipping was not that much and it was a great buy. I don't regret it at all. I think it's fabulous. We also got a question from Anu on the Instagram page, and she asked about when we release new patterns. And we actually have a method to our madness. So let me kind of tell you what we do. So new patterns are released every quarter. So as you know, we have a quarterly mystery subscription box, and that subscription box is released the last 2 weeks of the quarter. 30 days after that, we release the pattern to the public. It becomes a Simply Classic pattern, part of our library. So that's usually around the 1st of February, May, August, and November. Okay. Then, of course, you're going to get your patterns in your quarterly mystery subscription box if you subscribe, and it'll be those same patterns that we release in February, May, August, and November. You'll just get them early. And then you can get exclusive patterns with classes that you take from me. So for instance, the Banda bag, this one up here, that's a pattern that we will never release to the public. That's just going to be for the Banda class. So if you would like to get that pattern, you're interested in working with leather, it's a great opportunity to go ahead and get it that way. And then I usually try to release, sneak 1 or 2 other patterns in throughout the year. A good example of that this year was the Roseanne. I mean, that was a new it was kind of a new pattern, old pattern, right? You guys knew about it. But a lot of teachers have been requesting to teach that bag. So I really needed to put it in writing. So we went ahead and released it as a pattern. And, I understand that patterns take a long time. We have real life testers. We have pattern testers. We have to write it. It goes through stringent, proofreading. And I mean, it takes a lot. It takes several months to write a pattern. So we know at a minimum, we're going to release 4 patterns a year, but it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. And we'll try to sneak in as many as we can because that's one of my favorite parts of my job. I love writing patterns. I love trying to figure out how things go together. Okay. And a quick note is that the subscription box pattern will be released February 1st. So if you were not a subscription box member, no problem. You have access to that pattern February 1st. And so we'll feature that pattern on a live stream, when it comes out. And it's a good one. A couple of people have already made it and posted it in the Facebook inspiration or the Facebook community group. So take a look there. You kind of get a little sneak peek at it. Okay. So Gail asks, my first bag making sewing machine is on its way. Congratulations. The new machine is always fun. So glad to learn from you. How do you know how to purchase good cork, or is all cork the same? So I would say to your question, is all cork the same? The answer is probably no. I would say it's probably not all the same. Cork comes from Portugal, and it is the bark of trees that have to be stripped down. And so it's a natural product. It is not something I use that often, and it's kind of personal preference. It's not because I don't like the look of it, because I really do, but I have had some problems maybe with it cracking, because essentially it's tree bark that you're asking to fold in half in certain places. So just be wary about where you get your cork. I think that So Sweetness, I think her cork is really very, very good. And I know there's some other suppliers out there that actually carry really good cork. Sonar, I think she's another one that has really great cork. So just make sure you go with reputable people. Don't just go to Amazon and order that, because you're probably going to get what you pay for. Okay. So Nancy says, will you carry any variegated Tech 70 thread? The new webbing straps would pop with those colors. They sure would. If Philtech makes it, we will definitely carry it. They have the Tex 45, that cotton candy variegated thread, which is beautiful. Originally, they told me they were trying to match the 70 colors to the 45 colors. So if that happens, then I'm sure they probably will come out with at least one variegated. And I can certainly put a bug in their ear about, there's some people who would like it, and that would probably get them going as well too. So Made by Misty says, is there any possibility of you stocking 1 inch? I'm assuming you're asking about wedding. So yes, I really would like to stock 1 inch. I'm a little particular about the patterns I'm choosing though. I don't want to choose patterns that I see everywhere else if possible. I kind of want to get some unique things. There's a few that I'm eyeing that we're trying to see if we can get in 1 inch lengths. So we are definitely going to try to do that. And I certainly don't want to just get any old thing. I try to be, again, very particular about what I get. So we're going to try to do that. Yes, absolutely. So let's see. Will the lining work on cork fabric? Yes, it will. That's a great question. It will work on cork fabric. Yes, yes. We're not using it in cotton, but any kind of cork, leather, or faux leather, you'd be fine. And then Becky asked, does the adhesive gum up your needle? That's a good question. And it has not gummed up my needle at all, whether I used it on my Burnett domestic machine or my industrial machines. It's sticky, but it's not so sticky. It's not as sticky as double-sided tape. Okay, it's not. It's just got a very thin adhesive, enough for it to stick on the leather or faux leather or cork, but not enough for it to gum up your needle. And that's the reason why I like to sew it on as well. I don't just stick it on and don't do a line of stitching, because I think that with time it probably could come off. But the idea is to hold it. It holds itself in place as you sew it. So it's really a great product for that. So Leslie says, I'd love a dupe of the Hermes Birkin. I know. Is there any chance of that someday? There's always a chance for anything. I am game for anything. I think, I'm not 100% sure. I want to say Toby Style Patterns has one, maybe a pattern for that already. You might want to check her out and see. Seems to me I saw one out there or something like that. And if anybody knows, go ahead and put it in the chat, because I think she did a really good job with it. I don't have the pattern. I haven't made it, but I think it's pretty good rendition of it. Not to send you anywhere else, because I certainly don't want to do that, but I also don't want to recreate the wheel if it's out there. Let's support each other and help each other out. Okay. All right. So let's see who won these calendars. Oh my gosh. What a fantastic prize. All right. So Patricia Clutter, and is it Noni Goya? All right, both of you have won the calendar. So I do not say, and I should have said this ahead of time. I think we had it in the words going across the screen, but it was open to U.S. residents only. So hopefully you guys are both in the U.S. It's just a lot to mail it, number one, and then probably if you live overseas, you wouldn't be ordering from these folks anyway. So because the shipping, as we all know, is absolutely crazy. So congratulations to both of you. Make sure you email share@simplyclassic.net and let us know where to mail your calendar. You have a total of 24 hours to do that. If we do not hear from you, we're going to give the calendar away again next week, okay? Because what's happening is people aren't emailing us when they win for some reason, and we're having to keep up with it. It's becoming kind of a lot. So if you win and not the patterns, because we understand you may not necessarily be watching live, for Artistry Avenue, so you have 30 days for that. But if you are, a member of the live, you're here, you type a word in, you win, go ahead and email us right away so we get that out to you, okay? All right. So we are going to be back next week. Again, we are here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Next week, we'll be talking about bags, straps, and handles. So we have a lot of good things planned for that. And until next time, everybody, happy sewing.